Politics. Now to the Democrat running for Texas Land Commissioner. It's Jay Kleberg. His family owns the famous King Ranch in South Texas, and his resume is one of the best that a Democrat has had in years while running for this seat. Jay, thanks for the time. I want to start off with the basics here. You're from the King Ranch family, the famed King Ranch family. You're a conservationist. You have land management experience. But polls show that you're 8 points behind a physician from outside Austin. How in the world is that happening?
I think one of the things that we've learned throughout this campaign is we've got to educate people about the importance of these offices. And certainly this is one that's the oldest constitutional office in the state of Texas. It manages 13 million acres of public lands, provides critical funding to, and manages the largest K through 12 endowment in the country, veterans benefits and disaster recovery. I think when people understand, and we've put about 60,000 miles on my pickup truck to let people know how important this office is, and that you want someone there with a steady hand who has relevant experience. And so we think that we got a path to victory here. We both were in runoffs, and the polls at that time were showing me down double digits, and we won by 6 points. So we've got a path. We just got to execute here in the final weeks.
Well, let's talk about the final weeks and executing that. Last time a Democrat has been in this office, Jay, they were elected in 1998. How do you close that gap in the remaining 4.5 weeks?
Well, we've traveled all over the state. We were up in Amarillo about 10 days ago. We've been in Abilene and San Angelo. I'm in El Paso now. And so we're really focusing on areas where the General Land Office has a real impact. You've got a huge veterans community in West Texas. It's in part why I'm in El Paso now. There's a veterans home here, and really trying to tell people how it impacts their lives, and specific to veterans, making a contrast to my opponent who was on the board of and profited from an organization that scammed veterans for their GI Bill money. And so educating people about the differences between my 20 years of experience in natural resource management and land conservation work and my opponent, who's an ophthalmologist who's profited off the backs of veterans. So this is a final push to make sure that people, even in places like the Texas coast, where you've got 25% of the population and 25% of the economy, and this office is going to be investing about $30 billion in the next 20 years in making sure that we protect it. So it's important, and we're trying to reach as many people as we can.
The current office holder, the current Texas Land Commissioner, is George P. Bush. He's a Republican. He got caught up in quite a bit of, I would call it scandal, for not giving federal grant money, disaster recovery money, to Harris County, which suffered after Hurricane Harvey, instead giving it to rural counties a little farther inland. How would you address that differently? How would you distribute disaster recovery funds differently, Jay?
You look at where the General Land Office initially set up the highest risk counties, and they were essentially the 18 coastal counties, and then came back in and added an additional 29 to that list. If you look at where the percentage of damages were, 50% of the $125 billion of damage was in Harris County alone. And so I would make sure that the funds that were meant by Congress to go into Houston, not just for Harvey, but also for floods that had occurred prior to Harvey, that those funds get into the community where they're needed. And so we're going to put together a strike force that will, in the first 90 days of taking office, identify how to get those funds out quickly. It's not just those Harvey funds. You've got $8.4 billion in federal natural disaster relief funds that have not been spent in the state of Texas that go back to Hurricane Dolly. And so we're going to make sure that we get those funds down in the communities that need them, because essentially right now we're just waiting for the next storm to happen. We're not planning for it.
Jay, you said that your opponent refuses to debate. Just the other day on Twitter, you had quite a long thread on that. We asked Dr. Buckingham about that. She's told us that she's not received any requests to debate or to appear with you.
Yeah, we've had two organizations that we know of that have asked for a debate, and we have accepted. And obviously, as we all know, she has not. And then we also challenged her.
Who are those organizations, Jay? And do you know when they reached out roughly?
Yeah, there was an organization, EarthX, that's up in Dallas that has
Right.
reached out twice. And then I believe that a group out of Galveston has asked the same thing. And it was going to be sometime in October. I know that EarthX has reached out over the last few months to offer up both of us to enter into a public forum. And I'll say it now that we'd love to have a debate, because the people of Texas deserve to know what this office does and what it can do under the right leadership. And we have been very forthright about what our plans are and our vision for this office. And my opponent is out shooting clays and playing golf with donors.
Jay, we appreciate the time.
Thank you.